Okay. I'm going to bring Craig Smith, who's an immigration attorney, back into the discussion. Craig, thanks so much for your time on ANN7 Prime. Your reaction to these regulations?
Well, I've never really been a big fan of the regulations the 26th of May, and I want to comment on the Director General's comment about China and unabridged birth certificates and the drop in tourism. The drop in tourism actually relates to the new regulations which require Chinese people to go in person to either Shanghai or Beijing, which could be 1,000 kilometers away, and apply for a visa. That is a principal issue of the drop in Asian tourism. I just want to go back into comment on a couple of points. Consultation. The Director General raised Act of Parliament and the parliamentary process. This has nothing to do with that. This pertains to Regulation 612 of the regulation, which allows the Minister to promulgate regulations after stakeholder intervention. As far as I'm concerned, the Immigration Advisory Board has been defunct for over a year, and I don't therefore understand what consultation would have come the way of the Immigration Advisory Board and stakeholder intervention. So I am concerned whether the department has done its homework in terms of the cost of tourism versus the one person that may be subject to a child kidnapping. We are not a country that is flagged as a high-risk trafficking country, and this was reported in the U.S. in their 2013 report on child trafficking. And notwithstanding that, our requirements for the birth certificates now are the most onerous anywhere in the world, based on other comparisons with the U.S., with Canada, with Brazil, and Australia. So I do think we are missing a trick here, and I think that there should be a lot of importance and significance attached to what the tourism industry is saying, because the Immigration Act wants to encourage foreigners to come to South Africa, spend their money and contribute towards our economy. And I think our immigration laws are becoming more and more restrictive, which is a bit of a turn-off for the foreigners. And the reality is the proof will be in the pudding over the next couple of years if nothing is done.
Craig, you're speaking about foreigners and how perhaps tighter and stricter regulations are making it off-putting for them. How do we balance that with the need for a safer South Africa which is off-putting to people who perhaps have criminal intentions to come here?
Absolutely. It would then be incumbent on the department to demonstrate the research, to show what the minutes were in the Immigration Advisory Board meetings. This board is so critical to informing regulation and policy making. Now, if the Minister or the Director General was able to demonstrate scientifically that we have lost track in terms of human trafficking, and we are now a Tier 3 country, synonymous with the Chinese and a few other countries, Uzbekistan, Libya, North Korea, if we suddenly had relegated ourselves, by all means, the Minister or the Director General could stand up and say, we have scientific evidence that we are losing track. But to argue the point, we have one child kidnapping is too many, but an absolute breakdown of the tourism industry and a negative sentiment towards foreigners who see our immigration laws as restrictive, I don't think that's in our best interest of our country. And I think that's contrary to what the immigration laws want to achieve.
Thank you very much. Mkuseli Apleni, Director General for the Department of Home Affairs, joining me in studio. And via Skype, Craig Smith, who is an immigration attorney.